Okay, so if you've ever felt, really stuck in that loop, the one with consequences, timeouts, just reacting all the time and feeling like, ugh, nothing's working.
Yeah.
Well, today's deep dive might just be for you. We are stepping right into a framework that's designed to completely shift how you approach challenging behavior.
That's right. We're immersing ourselves entirely in the teachings of Brian Post, specifically from his Fear to Love module. And he really pushes for a total paradigm shift.
Paradigm shift. That sounds pretty major.
It is. He insists we have to move completely away from focusing on correction, fixing the behavior.
Okay.
And instead put all the focus on connection. He's very clear. Trying to fit old ideas like consequence-based discipline into this new way of seeing things, it just won't work. It fundamentally doesn't fit.
So this isn't just trying a new parenting tip. It's like changing the operating system.
Exactly. It's about looking at human nature really quite differently. So our mission today is to get a handle on this stress model Brian Post developed, decades ago now, and pull out the practical, usable tools, things that actually reduce stress, not just for the child, but crucially for you, the caregiver, too.
Okay, but Post seems to suggest this isn't easy. He talks about commitment.
Oh, yeah. He's very upfront about it. He talks about mastery. And to achieve mastery in this, he says you need.
Yeah.
Well, you need obsession.
Obsession. Wow, that's a strong word, especially when we're talking about changing years of automatic responses.
It is strong, but he argues it's necessary. Brian Post basically says, look, if you want greatness, and he means real positive change in your family life, you have to get obsessed with this material.
Meaning?
Thinking about it, practicing it, living it. He warns against just being average or mediocre, listening once, reading a bit.
Right.
He says that puts you in what he calls the pond of mediocrity with, the 99%. Mastery demands more focus.
Okay, so aiming for mastery here. And Post says there were really only two main ways to actually change the brain, right?
That's it. Two ways. Repetition and emotional impact.
Repetition. Which is why he emphasizes things like taking notes, really studying the concept.
Precisely, engaging with it over and over. And then there's emotional impact, those moments that really hit home and create change.
Got it. And the absolute core of this, the principle, he wants everyone to basically burn into their memory.
Yes. This is the bedrock. He developed it, 23 or 24 years ago, and it's guided everything since. Memorize this. All behavior arises from a state of stress.
Okay, all behavior from stress.
And here's the crucial bit. In between the behavior you see and the underlying stress, there's always a primary emotion. Always.
And those primary emotions.
There are only two. Just two. Love and fear.
That's incredibly simple, but profound, isn't it? If you can trace defiance or meltdowns or shutting down back to either love or fear.
It changes everything. Suddenly, it's not about a bad kid or a behavior problem. It's about safety, regulation, and unmet needs rooted in fear.
Which brings us to the really hard part, I guess. What do you do in that moment when your child is escalating?
Right. And this is where that mastery and obsession come in. Brian Post talks about how he literally trained himself to ignore the behavior.
Ignore the yelling, the hitting, how?
Well, it's not ignore the child, but ignore the surface behavior. He learned to listen underneath it, to tune in only to the stress signal, the fear signal that's actually driving it.
Because the behavior we see is just the symptom, the manifestation. The child's in survival mode.
Exactly, not acting out of malice. And you feel it too, don't you, as the caregiver, that immediate visceral reaction.
Oh yeah, that sudden heat, heart pounding, the hair on your neck, that pingling thing he talks about.
That's pure physiology. Post breaks it down. It's the amygdala, the adrenals, bam. Adrenaline shoots up your spine, your body instantly goes into its own survival mode.
The amygdala hijack we hear about. The thinking brain just goes offline.
Totally offline, which is why the very first, most critical step he teaches is what he calls responsibility.
Responsibility.
We all react first. That adrenaline surge makes sure of it. But responsibility is about catching that tiny, tiny gap, the space between that instant reaction and choosing how you will respond.
So it's about inserting a conscious choice in that moment.
Yes. And that choice requires stopping yourself, which leads right into how this whole cycle works, connecting the child's stress to yours.
Right. Post talks about the child sending out a stress vibration.
Yeah, think of it like that. Their stressed state literally vibrates out, and it kind of invites you, the parent, right into your own stress vibration. It's almost contagious.
And that you're both stressed.
And then you both regress. He points out that when adults get highly stressed, they don't operate from their calm, rational adult brain. They revert to what he calls a developmental zone of comfort,
Meaning?
meaning you're essentially operating from the brain of a stressed out child yourself, even though you're in an adult body.
Wow. Okay, that paints a picture. Two dysregulated people trying to solve a problem. No wonder it escalates.
It's the definition of an escalation cycle. And this is where Post brings in that powerful quote from Bruce Carey, which just flips the whole script.
What's that?
An oppositional, defiant child is a scared child.
Okay, let that sink in. Oppositional defiant is scared.
Changes everything, doesn't it? If you can see the fear underneath the defiance, you stop fighting a battle for control and start trying to manage overwhelming panic, their panic.
And Post adds, the parent of that oppositional child is usually a scared parent too.
Right.
Scared of failing or judgment or losing it.
Exactly. Fear on both sides. So, okay, if we buy into this behavior is fear and we get pulled into fear too, how do we use that responsibility moment? How do we actually choose love when everything screams fear?
Yeah, what are the practical tools? What does Brian Post give us to actually do differently?
The goal is always, always choosing love, which means first, regulating yourself. He says you have to stop, breathe, and make that choice. And he gives us a really simple, powerful acronym for this. BSS. Okay, let's break that down. B is for breathe. Deeply. Consciously. This is the physiological interrupt for that stress surge.
Okay, breathe first. What's the first S?
Slow down. Slow your body movements. Slow your rate of speech. Resist that urge to rush in and fix things immediately.
Slow down.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It combats the frantic feeling. And the second S?
Soften. This one's more internal. It means consciously softening your muscles, yes, but also softening your internal stance.
Yeah.
Letting go of the need to control, the need to win, the need to be right.
Soften.
Huh.
That feels like the hardest one when you're feeling attacked or overwhelmed. What does softening really look like in that moment?
It's like an internal letting go. Accepting you can't make the child feel better instantly. It's about dropping that defensive armor we put up. Post actually contrasts BSS with our usual default reaction.
What is it?
Which he calls CSC, control, suppress, change.
Control, suppress, change. That sounds familiar.
Right. When we feel threatened, our instinct is to control the situation, suppress the child's big feelings because they're scary, and try to change their behavior immediately. BSS is the polar opposite. It starts with changing you.
It really puts the focus squarely back on the caregiver's self-awareness and self-regulation first.
Absolutely. And that leads to this really practical homework assignment he gives. It forces you to look at your own environment.
What's the assignment?
Identify 3 things, just 3, that consistently reduce stress in your home, and 3 things that consistently increase stress.
Okay, simple enough to identify, probably.
And the task is even simpler. Do more of the things that reduce stress and do less of the things that increase it.
Huh. Simple, but maybe not easy to implement consistently.
Well, that's the practice. But he calls this the pathway of healing. Because
Right.
when you manage to reduce your own stress, when you can stay regulated using DSS,
Then you can actually see and respond to your child's fear without getting triggered yourself.
exactly. Your changed behavior, calmer, softer, slower, creates the safety they need. It models regulation. And that is what allows their behavior to reshape over time. It starts with the adult.
Okay, this is already huge, but then Post takes it even deeper, doesn't he? He gets into physics, energy, vibration.
He really does. He argues this isn't just psychology, it's grounded in how energy works.
Yeah.
He has this model. Your cells are energy sources. That energy emits a vibration, and that vibration creates a frequency.
The cell energy vibration matches frequency.
And fundamentally, he says, your body operates in one of 2 energetic states, thriving or surviving. Emotion itself. He defines it literally as energy in motion. Emotion.
And this isn't just a nice metaphor for him.
Not at all. He often quotes that idea linked to Einstein. Everything is energy. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality.
Wow.
And then he adds, this is not philosophy. This is physics.
So the challenge is, if you want a connected, loving relationship, you literally need to get yourself onto a frequency of love.
That's the core of it. If your dominant frequency is stress, anxiety, control, fear, well, according to this view, that's the reality you'll keep co-creating in your home. You have to actively cultivate the frequency you want.
Which brings us back to BSS, breathe, slow down, soften. It's not just calming down, it's actually shifting your physical, energetic state.
Precisely. It's physiological intervention. And Post connects this to brain science, referencing Joseph Ledoux's finding that In times of stress, our thinking becomes confused and distorted, and our short-term memory is suppressed.
So when you're hijacked by stress, you literally can't think straight or remember things clearly.
You can't access your rational brain effectively. Breathing, that deep, conscious breathing, is the key. It triggers the relaxation response, which Herbert Benson famously identified. It interrupts the cortisol flood
The stress hormone.
and helps turn on oxytocin.
The brain's own anti-stress hormone, the connection hormone.
Right. So BSS is the physical mechanism to shift from that survival frequency towards thriving, towards connection, towards love.
And Post takes this stress connection really far, linking it to pretty much all major issues.
He does. It's quite provocative. He cites Alan Shore's work suggesting that affect dysregulation, basically not being able to manage your emotions, is a fundamental mechanism involved in all psychiatric disorders.
All of them. That's a huge claim.
It is. The idea is that the inability to regulate your emotional state is the foundational issue from which other problems develop.
And he pairs that with another big claim.
Yeah, from cellular biologist Bruce Lipton. Lipton argues that something like 98% of disease and disorder is related to stress impacting the autonomic nervous system.
98%. Wow. Okay, putting those together. Shore saying dysregulation underlies psychiatric issues. Lipton saying stress underlies most physical disease.
The implication, as Post lays it out, is pretty earth-shattering. If stress and our inability to regulate it is the root cause, the real issue,
Then everything else, the behavior, the diagnosis, the illness, it's all just a symptom, a leaf on the tree.
that's the argument. And if that's true, then the very first thing you must do, no matter what challenge you're facing, behavioral, emotional, physical, eat less, reduce the stress. Address the root cause.
You're not treating the defiance, you're treating the fear. You're not treating the illness symptom first, you're treating the underlying stress.
That's the paradigm shift. Focus on the stress.
This really connects back to his idea of obsession and manifestation too, doesn't it? Believing you can achieve something.
Absolutely. It's about harnessing that physics principle. He really believes if you can conceive it and think it, if you can believe it, you can achieve it.
And he uses his own life as examples.
He does. He talks about visualizing his perfect office space in detail, feeling it, and then having it manifest, or setting a clear intention, writing it down about being in the best shape of his life by 60 and then achieving an 85-pound weight loss.
So it's not just wishful thinking. It's about setting the vision, tuning into the feeling of that future reality now, and then taking action aligned with that frequency.
Exactly. Define the vision, feel the feeling, act accordingly. The how tends to sort itself out when you're aligned with the frequency you want. It ties everything together. The stress model, love versus fear, the BSS tools, the stress audit homework. It's all about consciously choosing and cultivating a frequency.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a massive amount here. A fundamental shift from correcting behavior to connecting through fear.
Right.
From focusing on the symptom to addressing the root, stress.
And recognizing that the power to shift lies first with the caregiver, through self-regulation, through choosing love, frequency-wise.
The core message seems to be that this is a constant choice, moment by moment.
It really is. And Brian Post often uses that quote from Deepak Chopra to hammer it home. You cannot prevent the future, but you can influence the future from the present.
So the final thought for you listening, if everything operates on frequency, as Post suggests, what frequency are you broadcasting right now in this present moment?
Are you sending out signals of stress, anxiety, control? Or are you consciously choosing, practicing, breathing your way into a frequency of love, connection, and regulation?
Because that present frequency, according to this framework, is your most powerful tool for influencing the future you want with your child and in your life.
A really powerful question to sit with.
That's really something to think about. Thank you for walking us through this really challenging but potentially transformative perspective.
My pleasure. It's deep work.
It certainly is.
Oh.
Okay, that's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.